got you. When it's fucked up, we get fucked up. Just hold it down and keep it solid. And when you're not around, I protect your name. I won't let a nigga talk about you. Everybody ain't your friend. Everybody ain't your partner. Everybody ain't no real nigga. If I say I got you. When it's fucked up, we get fucked up. Just hold it down and keep it solid. And when you're not around, I protect your name. I won't let a nigga talk about you. Everybody ain't your friend.
This entire Earth is the so-called devil place of paradise, or better yet, his playground. Many people simply don't believe that this is all one big dream, and one scripted reality show. Truthfully, they don't know what the Matrix is. So to make it simple, the Matrix is operated and controlled by extraterrestrial beings who created the Bible, religion, and utilize entertainers to control the masses. A fake alternate reality world with fake characters that you see on the television screen and social media, which affects the everyday lives of all people living in the so-called real world. In today's film, we have Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford, and the deeper connection on why these two stars' careers have aligned with one another, and why their careers have crossed paths. Many people who watch our videos faithfully don't understand what are these riddles that they see, so I'll try to explain. The rapper Tupac once said in one of his songs, "Caught up in the middle, my life's a riddle, don't let it get you." Riddles are usually worded in a puzzling or misleading way, and have a double or hidden meaning that requires creative, outside-the-box thinking. So you ask, why are these characters' life based in riddles? Well, it's for various reasons. One being to mock the masses, who have no understanding of how this matrix truly works, and it's like the saying that has been around for years. Life is a joke, literally. Every event since Earth's creation has been a riddle that leads to another riddle heading into the future, but no one yet has it all figured out, and that's what keeps the game going. Another reason as to why the elites use riddles is because they believe in deception, being cunning, calming the masses, and being completely dishonest. As long as the masses are dumbed down and wired to be ignorant, they won't realize a joke is being played right in front of them. Sometimes the simplest things are right in front of you. As long as the riddle keeps being played, the longer the game goes. And since there has been riddles since the beginning of time, once everyone realizes that it's all game, that game is over, and the new game, entering the next phase of society, begins. In this final chapter of the Riddle Edition, we'll cover the highly anticipated boxing match between the two fighters Errol the Truth Spence and Terence Crawford. The last name Spence in itself speaks volumes to the character and how his life story and career has panned out thus far. Suspense. The definition of suspense, a state or feeling of excited or anxious, uncertainty about what may happen. Spence fans are constantly on edge, in and out the ring. The Errol Spence car crash was symbolic, scripted and ritualistic. The crash was just the evil elites, you using these staged events to tell the Christian version of Jesus' story, but replacing the character with one of Satan's pawns. It's said that Errol Spence was driving a white Ferrari when his accident occurred. The logo of the brand Ferrari is a horse. The white horse symbolizes the Bible scripture of Jesus Christ and him returning, as in come back, on a pale white horse, which is why Errol Spence metaphorically resurrected in his car crash and won 2 straight fights after his crash. On a deeper level, and seeing through the matrix, you come to realize that the Errol Spence and Terence Crawford matchup was simply just 2 fellow craftsmen seeing out Masonic rituals. The Masons believe in duality, the twofold nature of man, the yin and the yang, black and white, 2 opposing forces and then coming together to become as one, black on black, which means darkness, evil, which is why both Errol Spence and Terence Crawford both wore all black Air Forces, which has been given the meaning being on demon time, and the famous Masonic handshake to honor the brotherhood. In the aftermath of Errol Spence and Terence Crawford mega showdown, many fans were highly shocked and suspicious of the massacre-style performance that Terence Crawford put on Errol Spence. Errol had been battered like never before, which made fans question the legitimacy of Bud's victory. Many fans believed Terence Crawford was on steroids, but while emotional fans argue back and forth, they missed obvious signs and riddles that this entire showcase was staged, such as Spence's face was viciously battered after the fight. However, days later he magically healed. Terence Crawford currently has a drug cheat in his camp by the name of Victor Con T. Get it? Con T. But Con T was convicted of supplying his fighters with steroids. Victor Con T was sentenced to serve time, however would be released. Upon his release, he would create a company named Snack. After serving time for giving steroid snacks, Crawford entered the ring with Slim Shady. After the event seemed shady, and his Spence looked high, which made people suspect something was off about Spence. The Errol Spence and Terence Crawford connection goes a little deeper within the Matrix. These 2 characters are just actors, and you are watching a movie. These 2 are playing out the roles of 2 characters from the past, and they are recreating a script in modern day. There was a Western film released back in 1970 titled They Call Me Trinity. The film starred 2 actors regarded as one of the best duos in film history, and that's a guy by the name of Bud Spencer and Terence Hill. The plot is about 2 half-brothers who help defend a Mormon from Mexican bandits and land grabbers. What is the definition of Trinity in Christian faith? It means the unity of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, meaning God is one being who exists in 3 persons. However, this is the total opposite for the elites, and that Lucifer is one being who exists in 3 persons, which is why in the film, Trinity, played by Terence Hill, was called the right hand of the devil, and Bambino, played by Bud Spencer, was called the left hand of the devil. Trinity also means a group of 3 closely related persons or things, and that's why there were 3 installments to the film. They Call Me Trinity.
And I think Terrence is a beast, but I told him you gonna beat him, man. You gonna prove me right?
Yeah, I seen that, man. I appreciate that.
Word.
Tell him he said 2 out of 3. He said he gonna give you 2 out of 3.
I think it'll be a trilogy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You don't think so?
It might be. I might win twice.
In the Western style, horse riding, gun-toting fighting film, Now you see why Errol Spence Jr. has a love for horses. Bud Spencer died June 27, 2016. The following year, May 27, 2017, which would be a month before Bud Spencer's death, Errol won his first big title shot against Kell Brook, which was like a rebirth. Bud Spencer was born on Halloween, October 31st, 1929. Errol Spence, near fatal car accident, happened October 10th, 2019. 11 days before Bud Spencer's birthday. The film They Call Me Trinity premiered in 1970. Terence Hill was born in the year 1939. For short, you can say in the year 39. And Terence Crawford had 39 fights leading up to the Errol Spence fight. Bud Spencer was born in the year 29, and Errol Spence after the fight had 29 total fights in his professional career. Terence Hill's birthday is the same month as Errol Spence, March 29th, 1939, which makes 27 days. Bud Spencer would have been 93 years old if he were still alive, and 39 in reverse is 93, 9 turned upside down is 6. And Bud Crawford will be 36 years old heading into the rematch. Leading up into the build-up of the next matchup, Terence Crawford name will go first on the bill, being as though Spence lost, and now Crawford is fully in position of power, so instead of the main event on the card being sold as Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford, it'll officially be in the correct order like the film, where Bud name is placed first. Bud Spence. The first installment of the film They Call Me Trinity did well. However, it's said that the second film actually exceeded expectations and did phenomenal numbers at the box office, which could happen in the next fight. In another connection to Terence Hill, it's said that Terence Hill's son died in a car accident back in 1990, which so happened to be the same exact year Errol Spence was born, and Errol Spence too was involved in a near-fatal car crash, except he didn't die. The plot of the third installment of They Call Me Trinity was about the two sons of Bud and Terence carrying on their father's legacy. The film was released June 29, 1995. Ironically, the Spence and Terence matchup would take place July 29, 2023. If you subtract the year 2023 from 1995, you get 28, which was Spence's record fight night. My theory is, being as though our entire reality is scripted, the Spence and Crawford matchup is simply a spin-off with plot twist, and Errol Spence and Terence Crawford both represent the sons of Bud Spencer and Terence Hill. Another clue that proved the fight was scripted was on the night after the fight. After defeating Spence, Bud would give Spence his belts back. As mentioned earlier, these two characters are as one, so when Spence initially stated in a post-fight interview that he would win all 3 of his belts, then take Bud's shit too, he was actually talking about his own belts. In connection to the rapper Eminem performed his old hit single, Lose Yourself, during Crawford's ring walk, and coincidentally, it seemed as though Errol Spence lost himself the night of the fight, in one particular line, in Eminem's song Lose Yourself. It was a part where he spoke about vomiting on his sweater with Mom's spaghetti, and what do you know? The classic film They Call Me Trinity is under the category of a spaghetti western film. In the film 8 Mile, Eminem had a battle with a battler by the name of Papa Doc, played by an actor named Anthony Mackie, who got his first big break. The original Papa Doc was a man by the name of Francois Duvalier. He was elected president of Haiti September 22, 1955, which so happens to be 6 days before the birthday of Terence Bud Crawford. 32 years later, Papa Doc was regarded as a voodoo ruler and dictator. For 14 years, he had held the wretchedly poor Black Republic of Haiti in a spell of fear. Voodoo spirits. Papa Doc cast his spells through artful use of voodoo, which in effect is Haiti's national religion. In the wake of culturally normalizing the act of being evil, it seems as though the boxer Terence Crawford ring walk appeared to be sinister and demonic. He almost seemed as if he was portraying the Grim Reaper. The color black has been defined as a skin color, but black is just a color, and nobody's skin tone is dark enough to be considered black. Black is sinister, evil, and wicked. Ultimately, the elites want for the sheep to embrace darkness, practice Satanism as a national religion, use voodoo and worship the devil. In the build-up to the Bud Spence fight, it was said that there were grueling negotiations between both parties involved. One of the demands on the behalf of Crawford was that he requested there be a coin toss to determine which fighter would have the luxury of being able to walk to the ring last. Considering that has never been done in boxing history, one must question what was the purpose. With Errol Spence undoubtedly the A-side heading into the fight, one would question, why did Errol Spence ever capitulate to the demand when Spence held all of the cards and power? However, Spence did give in, and it seemed a bit strange, because no one in their right mind would allow that, especially considering that they are the clear A-side, and Errol Spence must have had enough say to have his name first on the bill and not Crawford. But this to me validated Spence being in on the script, and this ties back to the film 8 Mile and its connection in one particular scene. In 8 Mile, Papa Doc went up against B-Rabbit, and what do you know? They did the famous coin toss, mysteriously. Papa Doc won the coin toss, but let Rabbit go first, and didn't end well for Papa Doc. And here's the plot twist, just like it didn't end well for Papa Doc. Ironically, Spence gave in, which allowed Terence to go first, and it didn't end well for Spence, as he was publicly embarrassed and humiliated after losing a battle like Papa Doc. The single Lose Yourself was released October 28, 2002, which so happened to be 18 days after the Errol Spence car wreck back in 2019. Eminem's real name is Marshall Mathers III, and Eminem's birthday is October 17, 1972. Eminem's name in the film 8 Mile was B-Rabbit, and the rabbit led Crawford and the free world into the rabbit hole on fight night. My theory is, with the plot of the film 8 Mile being based on what was currently relevant at the time, the elites are having us, the audience, reliving things that took place in 1995, like the release of the film The Sons of Trinity. In connection to Terence Crawford, in the film The Sons of Trinity, the character Bambino, who is playing the son of Bud Spencer, but the character is being played by an actor by the name Keith Newbert. Keith Newbert was born September 13th, 15 days before Terence Crawford's birthday. Keith was born in Wisconsin and attended the University of Nebraska, where Terence Crawford is from. But back to Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie played a character by the name Papa Doc, who had a cocked eye and a bush just like Terence. But Papa Doc's real name was Clarence, and Clarence rhymes with Terence. Eminem also had a childhood friend, whose life story was also based around the film 8 Mile, and that's a rapper by the name Proof. Proof's birthday was October 2nd, 8 days before Errol Spence's car crash. But think, what is being provided when a person asks you to show them the proof? The truth, like the truth Errol Spence Jr. But speaking of the truth, there was another NBA player in attendance the night of the fight, a player by the name of Paul Pierce, who also goes by the nickname The Truth. Paul Pierce's birthday is October 13th, 3 days after the Errol Spence car crash, and just like Paul Pierce's birthday is October 13th, 3 days before the Errol Spence car crash, Paul Pierce was given the nickname The Truth by Shaq on March 13th, 2001, 10 days after Errol Spence Jr.'s birthday. But speaking of the nicknames Proof and Truth, let's rewind back to the film 8 Mile and highlight its significance with the Errol Spence and Terence Crawford mega showdown. But let's analyze the film 8 Mile and see how the two scripts intertwine with one another. Speaking of the rapper Proof, like Truth, Eminem, first rap battle starts off against the rapper Proof. Eminem is outclassed and loses himself by choking on a grand stage in front of an entire audience. I guess it's safe to say he lost himself. It was his fault. Similar to Errol Spence, who wasn't well prepared the night of his battle against Terence. B. Rabbit, played by Eminem, was then clowned, teased, made fun of and embarrassed on a big stage by an entire crowd. Just like Errol Spence Jr., taken a beat down by Terence Crawford, Eminem lost to Proof, but Terence beat the Truth. Later on in the film, Eminem would get into a fight with one of the new members of the Free World for sleeping with his girl, who was once a friend, / promoter and manager for B. Rabbit, and that was a character by the name Wink. Wink like winking your eyeball, but Wink is played by an actor by the name of Eugene Bird. Eugene Bird once appeared on the popular TV show The Cosby Show. Eugene was a classmate to a character on the show by the name Stanley, who gets into a fight with a girl who likes him by the name Letitia, and ironically, Terence Crawford's sister name is Letitia. Mysteriously, there was another character who played on The Cosby Show that the character Stanley starred alongside as well, was a character by the name Bud, like the name Bud Crawford. The character, but from The Cosby Show, was played by an actor by the name Dion Richmond, who was born in '78, while Bud Crawford was born in '87. Dion Richmond is from New York, where Errol Spence was originally born at, but Dion made his TV acting debut in the TV show The Cosby in 1986 under the alias Bud, 1 year before Bud Crawford was born in '87. However, Dion Richmond, after 32 seasons on The Cosby Show, grows up and becomes an adult, and would then go on to star on another popular TV show called Sister Sister. Dion would play a character by the name Jordan, who was very close friends with another character on the show by the name Tariq. And what's funny is, Errol Spence Jr. has a really close best friend whose name is Jordan. But there is another eerie connection to the TV show Sister, and Dion Richmond, who once played the character Bud, and the connection to the film 8 Mile. But there was a female that also starred in the TV show Sister, like Dion Richmond, and that's a female by the name Sarah, whose real name is Brittany Murphy. But Brittany Murphy played on the first 2 seasons of Sister, and was the best friends of both Tia and Tamara. Her most known scenes in the show was 2 episodes. One episode where Tia and Tamara got caught cheating, and another episode where they were caught smoking. She never starred in another episode after the first 2 seasons, but she would eventually star in the film 8 Mile as the girlfriend of Eminem. But back to the film 8 Mile. After Eminem beats up Wink would go team up with the Click Free World. The Free World would show up to B Rabbit's house and beat him up, just like how Terence, which rhymes with Clarence, beat up on Errol Spence the night of the fight. Clarence would pull out a gun and point it at B Rabbit as if he was going to shoot and kill Rabbit. However, Wink would stop Clarence from pulling the trigger. But this entire situation stemmed over a female, which was said to be the reason MO3 and Errol Spence were beefing, but we'll go more in depth about that later. Instead of choosing violence as retaliation, B Rabbit would get his revenge by winning 3 straight rounds against the Free World, and he got his get back in impressive fashion. How? 'Cause guess what? Everybody loves the underdog comeback story. Eminem's first match was defeating Licka D Split, and Rabbit split his head open verbally, but his win got the respect of the guy he originally lost to Played by Proof in his next battle against a battler by the name Lotto. It was a slight close round, but in Rabbit's verse, he accused Lotto of being on steroids, like it's alleged about Terence. The character who played the role of Licka D Split was a man by the name Gerald Samuels, whose rap name is Strike. Strike was a part of a rap group named Mountain Climbers, and what's funny is that it was said that part of Errol Spence losing was him being weight drained, and that he was tired from jogging 5 miles, not 8, like the film 8 Mile, but jogged up a mountain. But it's said that during his auditions, he was on the run from the feds at the time for an attempted murder case. Ironically, it's said that Errol Spence is rumored to be investigated by the feds for the murder of MO3. In the last battle, B Rabbit would completely dismantle Clarence, which rhymes with the name Terence, after exposing him for being a complete fraud and not being who he portrays himself to be. But here's where the plot takes a dark turn. The film 8 Mile ends with B Rabbit's friend Future played by Mekhi Phifer. The role is based on the rapper Proof tries to convince B Rabbit to host Future battles with him. B Rabbit turns down Future's offer and decides to walk his own path. This could be a reach. Don't be surprised if the rapper Future does the ring walk for Bud or Spence in the rematch. But here's where the plot takes another eerie dark turn. The film 8 Mile was also based around the rapper Proof, who also had his own record label named Iron Fist, but the rapper Proof died April 11th, 2006. He was shot 3 times after a dispute over a pool game at a club on 8 Mile Road. It's said that Proof got into an argument with a man by the name Keith Bender. But what's weird is, in the third film, The Sons of Trinity, the 2 main characters, continuing the legacy of their fathers, are played by 2 men by the name Heath Kisler and Keith Newbert. And if you swap the 2 first and last names of the main characters from the film Sons of Trinity, you got Keith Kisler, Proof, which rhymes with truth. Death started over an argument with a man named Keith Bender, Keith Kisler, and Keith Bender. But speaking of the name Heath, Clarence from 8 Mile rhymes with Terence, and Terence's nickname is Bud. Wink, played by Eugene Bird, who starred in the film 8 Mile, also played on the TV show The Cosby Show, like Bud, and Bill Cosby's name on the show was Heath. Cliff Huxtable. Eugene also starred in a film called Buds for Life. Get it? Bud. This entire society and major events are shrouded in the Masonic language, and everything is scripted through the numbers. The Errol Spence and MO3 so-called beef was nothing but pure theater to further the programming of pushing evil and ties into the film They Call Me Trinity. And Errol Spence, who is one of the lead characters in this spin-off. Trinity means 3. The number 3 is the highest degree of Freemasonry, the Master Mason. Even when you hear the name MO3, it's really more 3, the definition of more. A greater or additional amount, like just 3 isn't enough. Give them more. The number 3 is heavily connected with Errol Spence. Errol Spence has 3 E's in its name. Errol Spence's birthday is March 3rd. Spence was alleged to have been chased by MO3 during the night of his crash. His car wreck happened back in 2019. 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 9, it equals 12. And 1 plus 2 equals 3. He was 30 when MO3 died. Errol Spence was 33 years of age the night of the fight. He was dropped 3 times by Bud, which has 3 letters. Spence lost his 3 belts to Crawford, and the next day of the fight, which was on the 30th, the entire world clowned him for losing. Even MO3's last name, which is Noble, speaks to his affiliation and his ranking amongst the higher-ups. The story of MO3 not taking the oath and refusing to be but broken was all a lie. MO3 was indeed a part of the Brotherhood. There are no heroes. What is the definition of noble? Belonging to a hereditary class, with high social or political status, aristocratic. This is why they call it the Nobel Peace Prize. These characters' names and images are all given to them. These so-called independent rappers rise to fame as sold as a got it out the mud fairy tale, but it's all done by design. But in another weird connection between Errol Spence and MO3, whose real name is Melvin, it was also rumored that MO3 was involved in a shooting prior to his death, where he pulled up at 3:30 a.m., and the incident resulted in MO3 killing 2 men. But here's where the plot goes a bit deeper. The actor Bud Spencer, first film appearance, was an MGM film titled Quo Vadis, which means, Where Are You Going?, directed by a man named Mervyn. Vin, like Mel, Vin, but Mervyn Leroy. Mervyn Leroy birthday was October 15th, 5 days after the Errol Spence car crash 119 years later. There was another actor by the name of Errol Flynn, who died October 15th, but his birthday was June 20th, 1909. His birthday is 7 days before the actor Bud Spencer's death date, and if you switch the year 09 to 90, you have 1990, which was the year Errol Spence was born. Bud Mervyn Leroy, death occurred September 13th, 1987. 15 days before Terence Crawford's birthday, Mervyn died at 86 years old, and so did Bud Spencer. Mervyn Leroy also produced films from the actor that Bud Spencer's name was inspired by, Spencer Tracy. But here's where the elites flipped the script. The rapper MO3, whose real name is Melvin, is said to have started his career under a rapper by the name Puka Leroy, like Mervyn Leroy, but it's said that MO3 and Puka Leroy had beef, which resulted in MO3 leaving the label and going independent alongside his manager named Rainwater. The name Rainwater is the elites recreating their own evil stories using Bible scriptures that mentions storms, rains, floods, and hurricanes. The elites famously use riddles and hints when telling the story of their characters. Errol Spence once had a strength and conditioning coach by the name of Blu-ray. Blu-ray is a format of DVD designed for the storage of high-definition video and data, but being as though that nobody uses DVDs any longer and consume their content through other platforms. As it relates to Errol Spence's life, which is scripted, he has no need for a Blu-ray neither. Get it? Which is why Blu-ray pretends to not know why Errol Spence got rid of him after being together for 11 straight knockouts. Bud Spencer's name was inspired by an actor named Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy died June 10th, 1967. 17 days before Bud Spencer's death. Spencer Tracy struggled heavily with alcoholism throughout his adult life, even falling out his wagon. He also dealt with bouts of anxiety and depression. The two, Bud Spencer and Terence Hill, were both featured in their own beat-em-up brawler video game released on December 15th, 2017. The two would also go on to reappear in a 1994 film titled The Fight Before Christmas, and after suffering a loss to Terence, Spence is expected to rematch Bud in December.
You now have the ability to trigger a rematch.
Hey, yeah, we gotta do it again.